mode.
Hello everyone. I hope everybody is doing great today, and thank you for joining this webinar, Life After an OSHA Citation, Turning a Black Mark into a Better Workplace. To give you an idea how this will occur here, we're going to go through some slides and going to give you a little bit idea about what we do, TPC Training Systems, and then most of the OSHA information that we're going to give you today came from OSHA.gov, so straight off their website. At the end, if you have questions, you can either type your question into the chat box that we have, and we'll answer as many questions as we can get to at the end, or you'll also receive my email at the end, and you can email me questions at any time. So give you an idea who we are. In TPC Training Systems, we do industrial skills training, and we have a variety of methods that we deliver that training. We have TPC Online, where all of our courses are online, and you can pull any course that you might want to view from a library of courses. We also have TPC Consulting Services, where we can send a representative into your business, and he can customize training for you, whatever need that you might have. Another division is TPC iSchematic, which we can go in and map your machines and look at the flow of current or the flow of air or the flow of hydraulics and put that on an iPad, and it's a great troubleshooting tool. And then TBCtronco, which is our instructor-led division, where we actually have the following two-day seminars. So these are open to any customer that we have. They come to a hotel and we do training. Some of it is hands-on, some of it is lecture. And then we do on-site training, which is one of the things that I've been doing pretty much this whole year so far. Is I go into a business and I will conduct training for that specific workforce that's there. We also have online simulcasts where we will have an open seminar, and then we actually will broadcast that, and you could attend the seminar at any location you wanted, along with the students that are actually in this seminar themselves present at the time. And then we do a live online training portion, which is we pick a topic. It's usually a one-day topic, and we'll do training, and the students are following with us right directly as we go through that whole series of topics. So quite a few different ways that we can deliver this content. Well, let's get a little bit of information about me. So Bob Clukey, started in the electrical trade early in the 70s, and then get into education a little bit, and became an electrical contractor. And pretty much I do seminars for TBCtronco all over the United States and a variety of electrical topics. I have my own business, and you can see that I am a member of the International Association of Electrical Inspectors. So my background is mostly in electrical, but I have ventured into other areas a little bit. So let's take a look at why we're here today. So to begin with, let's look at this. Why would OSHA even conduct an inspection at a place of business? So 7 million workplaces all over the year, that and OSHA covers these. They can't get to them all, so they're going to focus on the most hazardous workplaces, and this is the order of priority that they use for a hierarchy. So first and foremost, imminent danger situations. So these are situations that definitely are going to cause an employee to die. The compliance officer is going to ask that employer to correct this immediately, and either that or just get all the employees away from that. So whatever that situation might be, it could be a chemical problem or whatever, but this is their #1 priority, because they believe that this is going to be something that an employee could actually lose their life on. Number two, you have an actual injury, so the injury occurred at your facility, and it's going to be important that we pay attention to these times and dates, because otherwise we're going to have very few options if we miss these. So if we do have a work-related fatality, then that has to be reported within 8 hours of that occurrence, and that, of course, OSHA is going to come and do an inspection on that. And also, if we have an injury that would result in the employee being hospitalized, amputation, loss of an eye, anytime that the employee goes to the hospital for whatever reason, we've got to report that within 24 hours, and that would result in an OSHA inspection. Number three, very common that a worker would complain, and OSHA takes these complaints very seriously. They have on their website, OSHA.gov, method for the employee to do this, anonymous, and OSHA really looks at this as one of their top 3 priorities. So the worker that does have a concern, hopefully they have worked with management a little bit or whatever and tried to resolve it first in that manner. But if they didn't, then they're going to try to have a OSHA compliance officer come out and take a look at that. Number 4 is referrals. So there could have been another individual in your facility that saw something that was hazardous. Maybe he was from another government organization, or OSHA will take a look and all of a sudden the media has broadcast an accident at a facility and they had no idea about it, so they're going to come in and take a look at it. And then some targeted inspections. So these are at some high hazard industries, workplaces. The construction industry would fall underneath this. The construction industry is still an industry that we do have a lot of injuries, and so they might see a large project and they're just driving by and they go, oh, we better take a look at this because, under a real quick eye, we saw a few problems. And then it could be a follow-up inspection. So they've already come to the facility, they've given you a chance to correct that violation, and they want to just make sure that it has been corrected, and during this time they could find out other violations, but that would be another reason that OSHA might come into your workplace. So we can see 6 here and list in the order of importance to OSHA, and very important that we try to keep these to a minimum. Of course, we'd like to correct all these before OSHA ever comes to our facility. So if it's something that is fairly minor, right, then we can do a phone or fax investigation, and these are for lower priority hazards. And whoever initiated the complaint, we have to get their permission to do this, and so then once that permission has been granted by the person that initiated the complaint, OSHA could just telephone the employer and discuss the concerns, and then follow that up with a fax, and that fax would give them details on the Code of Federal Regulation that might have been violated. And now the employer, and again, these time frames are extremely important, the employer must respond in writing within 5 working days, identifying the problem that they did find, that the complainant brought to their attention, and how they're going to correct that, and what the plan is from here out. If OSHA likes the response from the employer, and then the person that filed the complaint is satisfied also, OSHA generally not going to come on site. So everybody has been taken care of. The person that initiated the complaint is satisfied, and OSHA is satisfied that the business is going to take care of any violation. Then the on-site inspections. So here the compliance officer, before he does even come on site, he's going to research the history that work site. So if that work site has had many violations over the years, well, of course, this is going to be a very high priority for them. And so he's going to look at all the history. If there has been, this is the first instance, well, then he's probably going to go in and determine, exactly why that happened. But the compliance officer will get any personal protective equipment he needs, any testing instruments for whatever air quality or whatever it might be. And when he does arrive at your business, he's going to have to present his credentials. So that's going to be a photograph and a serial number. And so when he arrives, you could expect him to produce those to you. And now he's going to do the inspection, right, in accordance with the Code of Federal Regulations. After he does this inspection, he has to report his findings to the OSHA area director, who's going to evaluate them. So the whole country has been divided up into 10 areas. And we've got Region 1 right through Region 10, and, from the East Coast to the Midwest to the West Coast. And that area director now is going to make a determination if that violation does exist. And then he'll decide that we issue the citation and what the nature of the violation was, any penalty that is going to be assessed. And that citation is going to inform us basically of what we violated and then the time period we have to correct that violation, and then any monetary penalties. So we're going to have that in writing if in fact that the compliance officer did find a violation at that facility. The top 10 violations that OSHA has found historically, and the thing about this is that this list hardly ever changes. So 32,000 inspections of these workplaces by federal OSHA staff, and year in and year out, they are finding the same thing. So if we could just take care of these top 10, we'd be in great shape. Just about 4,500 workers are killed on the job every year. Now that is better than what we had, because in 1969, when OSHA was first introduced into Congress, we had 16,500 deaths in the workplace. So in '69, they introduced the OSHA Act. In 1970, President Nixon signed it. And in 1971, they created the agency. And we're down to, about 4,500 workers dying on the job, which is, even if it's one worker, it's too many. And then we have about 3 million workers that are injured, even with OSHA doing everything they possibly can do. So let's take a look at these top 10. And the first one, as we probably all know, fall protection, 7,402 violations. And then you can see that this came from the construction industry because it's 1926. So the Code of Federal Regulations, 1926 is construction and 1910 is general industry. So fall protection is still at the top of the list. Then we have hazard communication, over 5,600 violations, and we can see that this was 1910 general industry. So this is how we communicate our chemicals. We used to have what we called MSDS sheets. Now they're just SDS sheets, safety data sheets. And that process is going to give us an idea what chemicals might be in the facility, and if we do come in contact with that chemical, how we can take some action to make sure that we don't get injured. Number 3, scaffolding. So we're back in construction again here, over 4,600 violations with scaffolding. Respiratory protection. So we're back in general industry again, and depending on the process that we have, we just have to supply some protection from whatever the dust that might be in the facility or whatever it might be. And then we see lockout tagout. So when I see this, I hang my head a little bit, because I can remember going into a paper mill in the early 70s, and they were doing lockout tagout then. I mean, we should be pretty good with lockout tagout, but over 3,300 violations, and this is from general industry again. And forklifts, and forklifts concern me. Some facilities that I have been in, the forklifts can move at a tremendous amount of speed, and they're very motivated to move that product. And you can see general industry again with over 3,000 violations. And then ladders. So we're back in the construction trade again, and a lot of violations with ladders. Electrical wiring. So somehow we just did not follow the National Electrical Code or whatever, and this is back in general industry. Then we go to machine guarding, and machine guarding is extremely important. Sometimes we will remove that guarding to allow us to be a little quicker, and it never gets put back on, or for whatever reason the guards just are not there. And the last one again is general electrical, where we might see some violations with grounding and bonding, or missing covers or things like that. So then that's back in 1910 general industry. So these violations pretty much year in and year out, that's what you're going to see. You're going to, these don't change. So OSHA tries to focus on these, no doubt, because they would like to have these be reduced. So if a compliance officer does come into your facility, then and they find a violation, they've got to have a discussion with you, the nature of it, possible abatement, how we're going to correct that violation, the dates that we have to meet, and then any penalties that the area director may issue. So the compliance officer is not going to be issuing the penalty himself. He's going to come in and discuss, do his inspection, discuss it with you, and then submit that to that area director. And so whatever region that you're in here in the country. So there will be a small discussion there. So this compliance officer, you know, he is a trained professional, and he's going to come in and evaluate these hazards, and he's going to try to help us. So I can remember many times that I would work with that compliance officer, and he would give me so many great suggestions on how to mitigate some of these hazards. And that's a great way to approach it, that you want to try to work with that person. So if there is a hazardous situation, of course, we want to try to correct that almost immediately. And otherwise, or keep the worker out of that area, whichever is the best option there. So posting requirements. And this is extremely important, because you can get cited for this also. So if you do receive a citation, then you have to post the citation near the location of where it occurred. So the employees are going to have to see that. And it has to remain in place for 3 working days, or until the violation is corrected, whichever is longer. Hopefully the violation was corrected before the 3 days were up. And holidays, weekends are not counted as working days, even though we might be a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation. I mean, these are still not going to count. You've got to leave the citation posted up during that time. And even if you decide that you might contest the citation, you still have to post it up there. And if you do not post it, this can be a citation in itself. So we got to make sure that we do get that citation posted. If the citation is involved with something that moves, like you can see this picture of this forklift, then we can put a tag on that, and that tag would be just a warning tag, and give us the Code of Federal Regulation that is going to be cited with that. So for movable equipment, we can put a tag on it. So what does the employer have for options here? So I've been cited, right, and I've got a few options that I can go through here. And if I agree to the citation, maybe I just said, well, you know what, I messed up as the employer. I'm going to agree to it. Then I'm going to go ahead and correct that condition, and I'm going to pay the penalty by the date that's in the citation. So one thing I can just say is, OSHA's right. I'm going to pay the penalty, be done with it. Correct the violation, go on with life. If I don't agree, this is a very important time frame here. 15 working days, and we're going to see this a lot. So if I don't agree, I've got 15 working days from the date that I received the citation to contest it. It has to be in writing, and I have to be very specific. I have to be specific on which citation, which citation I'm proposing, if there's multiple citations, or maybe I'm only contesting the penalty, or maybe I need more time. So all of that could happen, or one of the three. So I could contest the fact that I don't even believe there was a citation, or hey, that's way too much money, or you didn't give me enough time to correct it. So, but that does have to be in writing. So to the area regional office. So before I decide this, if I want to contest, I can request an informal conference, which might just solve the whole thing, right? And so the area director, get him on the phone or in person, and I can discuss a variety of things here. Maybe he really has to explain the violation cited, and I want to maybe see, the specific code of federal regulation that they're referring to, and so I get that better explanation, and it might help me a little bit that I could say, yeah, I did make that mistake or whatever, or I could say, you know what, those penalties that you're proposing are way out of line, and I could start to negotiate a little bit and get involved with an informal settlement to try to get this whole thing agreed upon. So very important that we try to get this informal conference, right? We're going to discuss ways to correct the violation. Any compliance officer that I've ever been involved with always gave me solutions to the problem that they saw. So that's a very nice thing to have. And then we can discuss the penalties and say, oh, way out of line or whatever for whatever they saw. And then the date that I have to correct it. I've seen some citations that, there could be 175 items I had to correct. Well, you might have to give me more time to get those all corrected. If we go ahead and do resolve it, then we don't have to go to any more formal procedures. So we don't have to go to that review commission. That would be excellent, because that's pretty much going to court when you go in front of them. So this informal conference is very nice, and you could even ask other questions. You might be able to gain a relationship with OSHA with this. So it's just a great way to try to gain more information and maybe a relationship with OSHA, and maybe make the workplace a lot safer, and your employees hopefully will take advantage of that. So they want us to have this informal conference. There's no doubt about it. And if we do have that informal conference, that's great. It has to be held within those 15 days. So we can't wait on this one. We have to have that very quickly within the 15-day period. And once we have that, it's not going to extend the 15 working day period that I have. And if I do still want to contest something, it has to be in writing. The employees have a chance to send a representative to that. That's no problem. They can be there also. So the employer and the employees can be at this informal conference. If we do not contest within that 15 working days, then that's it. The citation is a final order, and it cannot be appealed. It's done. So if you believe that whatever that compliance officer found was not legitimate or whatever, that 15 working days is extremely important. So after the 15 days are done, and then the area director could still give you information, could still give you methods on how to correct the violation or the hazards, but that doesn't change anything. You have got to be in compliance. You've got to pay the penalty. You've got to correct the violation, and pretty much all he can do is advise you a little bit on methods or extend the time. But as far as monetary penalties are concerned, if you didn't contest within those 15 working days, it's pretty much over. So if they do have this informal conference, then everybody is, and I mentioned this before, they have the opportunity to participate fully. So that includes the employer, that includes OSHA, and that includes the employee. Now, sometimes it might be a lot of emotions involved here. So if that is the case, that either party is uncomfortable being with the other party, then OSHA can hold separate informal conferences. And they can be in private. It doesn't really matter. They can be held by any means practical. So over the phone, you know, can have a meeting online like this one is, whatever you really want to do. But everybody does have the opportunity to participate in that informal conference. Now we'll take a look at some of the types of violations that OSHA might have. So, and these have changed as of August 1st, 2016, as far as the amount that OSHA charges. But OSHA does like it if we do have some good faith. In other words, if I'm a small employer and I go to OSHA and I say I want to work with you, then that's gonna help me a little bit. So the penalty could be reduced. So the first type of violation that we'll take a look at is a willful violation, which is at the top of OSHA's list. So basically, this violation is going to tell us that the employer knew there was a problem and did nothing to correct it. So he had prior knowledge of this condition. So, I mean, OSHA defines this as when an employer has demonstrated either an intentional disregard for the requirements of the Code of Federal Regulations or a plain indifference to employee safety and health. So pretty much the employer says, this is the way it is, we're not fixing nothing, and, you know, if you get hurt, no, that's too bad. I mean, you shouldn't, you know, you're working in an industry that you can get hurt in. But these are very high on OSHA's list, and they afford, of course, the highest amount of monetary penalties. The next one is a serious violation. So this one also could result in death or serious physical harm. But the big difference here is that the employer really didn't know that they were violating the Code of Federal Regulations. So we can see that if the employer did not or could not know of the presence of the violation, then it becomes a serious violation. So many times when I'm doing training, I will tell my students, I'll say, you know, prior to this seminar, that would have been a serious violation, but now it's a willful, because now you understand all the Code of Federal Regulations that go with that. So sometimes the more knowledge you have, you've got to make sure that you do the right thing. Other than serious, so here is that the violation is probably not going to cause death or serious physical harm, but it could result in an injury or whatever, and OSHA could impose a penalty for this. Pretty much we don't see a lot of penalties for other than serious, but especially if you're going to work with them and correct that violation. De minimis conditions are those that are very minimal, so they no direct or immediate relationship to safety or health, and these conditions here, they're not going to result in a citation or penalty. They're very minor. We can probably correct them in a day. So maybe I'm could be walking by and I just see something that's maybe stored in an area that I can move in 2 seconds and whatever, but it's something that might be very minor. Failure to abate is also a violation. So I get a citation, I have a period of time that OSHA gives me to correct that violation, but the violation remains uncorrected, and the compliance officer comes in, and at a later inspection they see that it still hasn't been corrected. So this is failure to abate is another violation that we could be cited on. And then the repeated violation that the employer's been cited for this previously within the last 5 years. And then a compliance officer shows up, and sure enough, the same violation is still present. So you've got to look at the bottom of this one, that repeated violations can bring a civil penalty. So repeated violations, you've got to be very careful and make sure you get those corrected quickly, because that civil penalty could be troubling. So the amount of citation, what could the monetary impact be? And these all were increased on August 1st, 2016. And you can see that a serious violation previous to that was $7,000, and that could have been a nicked extension cord, you know, and boom, $7,000 gone. Now it has gone up to $12,471. Same with other than serious. The willful or repeated, both extremely bad. We can see that on these there's actually a minimum penalty, and it has gone up to almost $9,000. But the maximum penalty, almost $125,000 for a willful or repeated violation. So, you know, OSHA always had this for a feeling that, you know, the $70,000, especially here in, you know, 2015, 16, 17, to some companies just didn't mean a lot, that the company would just pay it and continue in business as usual. So they wanted these penalties increased. Now, a small business owner, of course, this is a substantial amount of money, but in larger businesses, OSHA didn't feel it was enough, so they went to Congress to try to get that increased, and they did. A posting requirement violation, same as serious, and failure to abate, same as serious. But anyway, we should understand that those monetary penalties have increased, and that's going to start putting more pressure on employers. So how to comply? So we've had our inspection from the compliance officer and found a violation. So if we do not contest the violation at all, then we have to notify the OSHA area director, either by letter, signed by a member of the management team, that we have taken the corrective action within the abatement time that was set, and everything is perfect now. So we corrected the violation, and then we have to pay the penalty. So we pay the monetary sum that OSHA has put down. So that's one thing. We don't contest it a bit. We just say, we were wrong, here's the corrective action we took, and here's the check for the monetary penalty. So we can do that. That's no problem. Usually, you know, there is going to be a contest of something, but sometimes, you know, what we have to understand is this. Maybe they come in and we don't have an overall safety program at all, and maybe we haven't been utilizing any personal protective equipment. Well, during the abatement process, you know, maybe I couldn't get everything done right then during that time, but immediately maybe I could at least provide PPE for the employees while we're doing something else, whether administering engineering controls or doing some risk assessments or whatever. But the first and foremost that OSHA would like to take a look at is, are we protecting the employees? So getting some personal protective equipment would be a nice solution while we take care of everything else. So they would like to also know, you know, our progress on all these. I can remember one time we had 6 months to correct some items, and after about 3 months, the compliance officer came back in and said, "How you doing?" I showed him the list. I said, "We're, you know, we got 30 things here. We've only got 10 done." He said, "Wow." He said, "If you need more time or you need suggestions, just let me know." But they do like to monitor the progress that is happening on some of these citations. So the penalties on this are payable within that 15 days. So you've got to, if you're not going to contest it, then you've got to make sure you do that. If you do contest the citation or penalty, you want to make sure it is in good faith. So you just can't say, "Oh, I've got 15 citations. I'm gonna contest them all." Well, OSHA really wants to know why you're contesting. I mean, it has to be in good faith. You've got to have a good reason why you're going to do them. But during that time period that you are contesting the citation, OSHA is going to suspend the abatement and payment of the penalty. So during that whole time, you don't have to worry about correction or payment until the review commission or higher court issues that final order. So, and you know, so if you do contest, then you're going to go to the review commission. That is an independent agency. It's not part of OSHA or the Department of Labor. So you would go to that agency first, and we would see what they gave us. But remember, if there are items I did not contest, all those still have to be corrected within the abatement process, and some type of plan for OSHA to know how you're going to correct it within that 15 working days. And if you have to make payment, then within that 15 working days. So if you do wish to contest, you got to submit that notice of intent in writing to the area OSHA office, and we've got Region 1 up in Boston, we got Region 10 in Seattle, and so we've covered the East and the Midwest and the West everywhere with the 10 regional OSHA offices. You've got to do that within 15 working days, and even if during the informal conference you disagreed with something, that doesn't matter. That has to be in writing within 15 days to that area office, and you got to be very clear what you are going to contest. So you've got to make sure that, you know, I would put down the specific section in 1910 of the Code of Federal Regulations, and make sure that, you know, if they have their items listed, you give them the number of the item that you're going to contest, put a date on it, and like I said before, it all has to be in good faith, so there has to be a good reason why you're contesting these. And you know, if you just are going to contest it because you don't want to just abide by federal law, well, that's not a good reason. So you've got to have a very good reason. And one of the reasons might be that, yeah, you have personal protective equipment, but the employee just chose not to wear it. And you know, so maybe I want to contest that. And OSHA might say, well, you know, were you monitoring that employee? Did you have an enforcement procedure to enforce it? But that would all go through the commission to see what would happen. A proper contest of any item, that is going to suspend my legal obligation to make a correction and pay until it's been resolved. So that's perfect. The dates are going to be very important that we have on that, and if there's other items I didn't contest, then we've got to have a plan there within 15 days and make that penalty. But if you do wish to contest, then that's no problem. I don't have to worry about abatement or paying until there's been a legal ruling on that. And if we do ever want to settle the case, so if we do decide to contest, now we're basically in litigation. I mean, the you know, OSHA is going to be represented by a lawyer, and you can be represented by whoever, but they're going to have a lawyer there. And anytime during that process, if you do wish to settle, you can call that area director, right? And give him the name. He will give you the name of their attorney, and then all these settlements of the contested cases are negotiated between the business and that lawyer. And it's going to be through the rules and procedure of the review commission. But you know, once you decide to contest, you're not really working with that area director anymore. You are now working with OSHA's lawyer. So if you do file this written notice of contest within those 15 days, then the OSHA director will forward that to the review commission, and they're going to hear the employer's side of it, and they're independent agency. They're not part of Department of Labor or OSHA, like I said before, but there's going to be a law judge assigned to this, and then there's going to be a hearing. It's going to be in a public place, very close to your workplace. Employers and employees both can attend the hearing, and this is really no different than any trial. I mean, they're going to have examination, cross-examination of witnesses. You could represent yourself as a business owner, or you could have an attorney, and then the judge is going to make a decision, right? Modify, eliminate, uphold, whatever, the citation or the penalty. And of course, there could be a legal appeals process here also. So once that judge has made his ruling, if we do want to appeal that, then it's going to be reviewed by the full review commission. So at any time it would go back to the review commission, which, remember, is independent of OSHA and the Department of Labor. Follow-up inspection. So we receive the citation, then a follow-up inspection usually is conducted to make sure we've done the following. One, posted the citation for the 3 days that it's mandated, corrected the violation within the time frame that OSHA gave us, protected our employees, and made great progress in correcting all those hazards. So all this is something that OSHA is going to look at in its follow-up inspection, and pretty much if you have done all these corrections, then OSHA is going to believe that you are working with them and trying to comply with everything. Now when the compliance officer does come back, if he does see something else, you could have some new violations there, but hopefully usually when they know you're working with them, it becomes a much easier process. So some of the employer responsibilities, and these are a little bit general, but we have to make sure that we do have on display the OSHA Job Safety and Health poster, and that has to be someplace in a public area, usually in a break room or whatever. We might see that. And then you got to inform workers. So we've got to let them know about those chemical hazards through our safety data sheets or whatever method that we choose. The workers have to understand what's inside that cleaning bottle that we have over there. Also, you got to provide safety training to workers in a language and vocabulary they can understand. I want to mention here that it's very important that we document everything. So in OSHA's eyes, if we did not document it, it never happened. So when we do provide this safety training, very important that that goes in the employee's file. We have the employee sign and date when that training took place. So extremely important. We've got to keep accurate records of any injuries and illnesses. This occurs with any employer that does have 11 or more employees. Got to keep very accurate records. Got to do some testing in the workplace. I was at a facility that manufactured airbags. Well, they use explosives in those airbags. Some of the tests they had to do was actually the conductive concrete floor. So they were out there doing some resistance testing on the concrete floor every day. But other places, air sampling, and document all these, and OSHA does have, of course, the standards for us to go by there. Very important here that the employer does provide the appropriate PPE that fits properly, and it has to be sanitary at no cost to the workers, with an asterisk beside it, because there are two types of personal protective equipment that the employer does not have to pay for, one of which is footwear. So they don't have to pay for footwear or prescription safety eyewear. Most employers do help the employees with that, but in OSHA's eyes, the employee can provide those also. The employer has to provide hearing exams or other medical tests, anything that is required by those OSHA standards. And of course, we already saw that the employer has to post any citations, and that has to also be where the workers can see them. have to notify OSHA within 8 hours of a fatality or 24 hours of a inpatient hospitalization. And there's the number that we can call to report that. And we can't retaliate against workers. This is federal law, so if a worker does report a hazard or an injury or whatever, then there are provisions in the law if the employer does retaliate for that. And here's what that law says. It basically says that the OSHA Act prohibits employers from discharging or otherwise retaliating against an employee who has exercised any right under this law, including the right to make a complaint or to request an OSHA inspection. So if they do believe they've been retaliated against, then the employee has to file that complaint within 30 days from the date that the retaliatory decision was made. No form is needed, but they must call OSHA within that 30 days, and phone number is the same as what it was before. So the worker has basically 30 days for that. Now, how can we avoid all this? So we'd like to have no violations if possible. So OSHA does offer some assistance programs. So first and foremost, a well-documented, published, public, comprehensive safety and health program. So very important that program includes management. So management has to buy in to all of this. And if we drive it from the top down, I know that I had a manager one time and very conscientious about his responsibilities. And he would invite OSHA in, we would have a lot of training, and he just always wanted to do the right thing. So when it comes from management, it just makes it so much easier. I have all this information, 10,000 pounds of information, and if I try to push it up a hill, very difficult. But if I roll it down from the top down, pretty darn easy. In your safety and health program, that there will be things like risk assessments in there, how we identify the hazards, how we're going to mitigate that situation, how we're going to educate and train our employees. So all that will be into that health, safety, and health program. Also, OSHA has some compliance assistance specialists that we can ask to come and give us some help at our facility. They can give us information, they can give a little bit of training, and they're just going to give us great ideas on how to comply with the Code of Federal Regulations. They also have a consultation program, so free and confidential advice. This is to small and medium-sized businesses, and they'll come in and they'll go ahead and maybe do a walkthrough, maybe talk with employees, and looks like they'll conduct over 29,000 of these. And what we have to remember is that the consultation services are separate from enforcement and do not result in penalties or citations. This is one that I've used extensively, so I love it when the OSHA inspector comes in. I don't have to worry about a penalty or a citation, and they made the workplace a safer workplace for the employee, so that's really nice. Next one, they have some cooperative programs where we can get together with labor groups, business, and basically also with OSHA, and just become more educated and try to find ways to keep the workplace as safe as possible. They also have the strategic partnership, and this gives the opportunities for OSHA to partner with employers, workers, trade associations, labor organizations, and basically we're going to try to eliminate any hazards that might be in the workplace. So we get some committees together and do some problem solving and get rid of those hazards. The VPP program is basically a recognition program. So this is the voluntary protection program, and this recognizes employers around the country who have great safety and health programs right now, and their rates are well below the national average, and everybody works together to try to provide injuries. So a lot of training involved with that also, risk assessments, a lot of analysis on hazards. So that's a pretty good program also. So Trronco, we help so many businesses every year that even myself, I'm impacted by employers calling me up and saying, you know, we utilized your service and we have made our electrical safety program so much better. We went from an old 1948 vehicle to a brand new vehicle right off the showroom. And so we've helped them with their electrical safety program. Of course, we have helped with training. So we do a lot of training in NFPA 70E, the National Electrical Code, boilers, you name it. We do have an online course for the 10-hour OSHA card, and you can see the website right there. And then, of course, we have a lot of open seminars. Those are usually held at hotel locations that any employee can attend, and but we can also come to your facility also. So we give you a couple websites to look at there, and then an email from our sales team. I do also want to provide you with my email, so there is my email. And if you have any questions, just remember that this seminar and this webinar will really never end. We're going to always be there for you at whatever you might need. So at this time,